Well, let's turn now to the latest on the terror attacks in Oslo, Norway. We want to take a deeper look into the man who says he's behind these attacks, which so far have killed at least 76 people. 32-year-old Anders Behring Breivik appeared in a closed session of court today. He has admitted he was behind the attack on Norway's capital and the massacre at a youth camp, yet simultaneously has denied criminal guilt. He believes himself even to be a European hero and wrote a 1,500-page manifesto in which some interesting things have come out. Essentially, that this is a person filled with hate and with extremely racist ideas. He says he wanted to start a revolution to inspire Norwegians to retake their country from Muslims and other immigrants. He also seems to despise multiculturalism. So what's interesting is that there are ideas that seem to stem back hundreds of years and have been reignited with the rebirth of the Knights Templar, a branch of the Freemasons. Breivik, who you're looking at right now, he says he's a part of the Freemasons, and so we want to talk about this organization. It is one with many, many members who consider themselves to be morally superior, and many of whom are also committed to bettering the world by any means necessary. So here's a question. Was this an isolated incident or an ideology that we should start to take much more seriously? It's got members like George Washington and Andrew Jackson and Silvio Berlusconi. Certainly not all the Freemasons think the way that Anders Breivik does. But for more on the psychology behind this organization, earlier I spoke to radio host Alex Jones. Here are some of his thoughts.
Sure. Well, you just got back from Bohemian Grove and your great coverage there that I watched, and that is a Masonic organization. It's admittedly Masonic, and they carry out some of the more archaic and secretive rituals there, and that's even been covered by National Geographic magazine, showing over 100-year-old photograph of them engaging in a black magic ritual there. So there's different branches of the Masonic system, and what happens is private intelligence agencies, government intelligence agencies, criminal groups try to infiltrate different arms of Masonic lodges because via the secrecy they can organize behind closed doors in compartmentalized areas. That's why the Illuminati in 1776 at Ingolstadt University in Bavaria, Germany, was founded inside of Masonic lodges and then spread to France and engineered the French Revolution there. They want to overthrow all the monarchies but set themselves up as absolute monarchs. And Albert Pike, the supreme commander of all global masonry, in 1877 wrote that they would have 3 world wars. World War I between Europe and the United States and England. World War II would be a larger global war. The third war would be Christendom against Islam, that would be invoked by their Masonic operatives, that would bring in World War III, and then out of that they would destroy every existing order and even the finance capitalists, and set themselves up as world rulers in the worship of the true one God, in their words, Lucifer. And
so do you think, Alex, that this is what we're seeing, that this is, you know, the start of World War III, or a tiny portion of what could lead to World War III?
Well, yes, this is an attempt by someone who he says has other cells. He's being handled. It's now admitted that MI5 knew what was going on. He was at meetings with British, quote, Knights Templars, with British intelligence, watching them, undoubtedly involved with them. I predicted last week on Thursday that they would start moving the terror threat away from Muslims in Europe and the United States over to, quote, white right-wing al-Qaeda. People that won't go along with the new wars, the banker bailouts, the open borders, all of this, as a way to demonize it. So I could see the shift in law enforcement training manuals I was being sent, in different messages in the media, that they were about to flip to this. And I said that the attacks were imminent on Thursday, and our report on that went around the world, but it was even more imminent than I thought. I mean, it was almost instantaneous. Less than 24 hours later, this began, and you've got multiple shooters reported by eyewitnesses that look nothing like Breivik. Dark hair, but with Norwegian features. You have the police 90 minutes not getting there. You have his Facebook being altered from Illuminati stuff to saying he's a Christian conservative. That's confirmed. All of this is up on Infowars.com.
So you're trying to say, Alex, that there's a lot of the pieces here that we're not being told about this specific attack. Let me switch gears because I want to get in some more questions. I think you bring up a really important point. It seems to me, at least, like for the last 10 years, both here in the U.S. and across Europe, authorities and investigators have focused only on the threat of al-Qaeda. When we think about more right-wing extremist groups, it seems to me, at least, they're often dismissed as sort of being on the fringe and, not very great in numbers. I'm wondering if you think that this was simply a case of a man acting alone, and it seems to me that you think it wasn't, or if this is a window into a much larger problem.
It's a window into a larger problem, but it's not what the script writers are telling us. This is invoking a clash of civilizations. He's calling for, and the media is building him up like, Captain Europe, to be the crusader against the Muslim hordes, in their words. And then this will undoubtedly, getting all this attention and the slick packaging and the glamour photos and the videos and the plagiarized treatise, will now be a Bible to lone wolves that will undoubtedly now carry out events. Just like the CIA set up in '79 Al-Qaeda, then put out the radical Muslim ideas, which then were picked up by real Muslims and carried out. Then the West has excuses to invade and take over the Middle East. So this is a psychological warfare program where the establishment is launching a grassroots crusade against the Muslims in Europe, and then government will sit back in the West, and intelligence agencies and security agencies, and play the part of the referee and the arbiter between the Muslims and Christians, killing each other. And so this is basically a very sophisticated form of false flag attack, where whether he's a mind-controlled patsy or whether he believes he's acting as part of this Illuminati Knights Templar knighthood, it is invoking a clash of civilizations, but that's only one level.
Alex, I'm going to need to stop you there. We're out of time, but regardless of anything, it certainly was a wake-up call, I think, whether or not to the authorities, it definitely was a wake-up call, I think, to most of the world, and certainly a tragic attack that happened there. Radio host Alex Jones joining us from Austin, Texas.